Welcome back, everyone. If you've been keeping up with MotoGP this season, you've probably noticed that something just doesn't feel quite right. In this video, we're diving deep into three key things: the major mistake that Pecco Bagnaia has openly admitted to, why his relationship with Ducati is quietly crumbling behind the scenes, and most importantly, whether the most dominant manufacturer in modern MotoGP history is finally starting to lose its iron grip on the top step. If you've been watching Pecco Bagnaia over the past year or so, you already know his name has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The 2025 season was, to put it mildly, a complete nightmare for a rider who is a two-time world champion. Across 44 races, counting both sprints and main Grands Prix, he failed to score a single point on 18 different occasions, including 9 retirements. For a rider of his level, that wasn't just a bad patch. It was a full-scale crisis. When 2026 arrived, everyone hoped for a fresh start. Winter testing looked reasonably promising, the Ducati appeared more competitive, and there was a sense of cautious optimism in the paddock. But 2 rounds in Thailand and Brazil, and the familiar struggles have returned. He finished 9th in Thailand and crashed on lap 11 in Brazil. This is not the kind of performance you expect from a former champion who has everything to prove. What makes this story truly fascinating is that Bagnaia hasn't been making excuses. In a very honest podcast appearance, he openly admitted to several mistakes that go far beyond the occasional crash or bad qualifying session. The biggest one: complacency. He entered the 2025 season fully convinced that the incredible form he had on the GP24 would simply transfer over to the GP25. But the new bike had changed its character quite dramatically. Instead of adapting to the new machine, he kept trying to ride it exactly like the old one. In his own words, his mistake was believing that his performance on the GP24 had already reached its absolute limit, and that the same level would automatically follow on the GP25. The engine characteristics had changed, yet he tried to force the new bike to behave like the 2024 version, and it didn't work. Then there's the issue with how he handled the media. After a race, there can easily be 10 or 12 television channels waiting, followed by a packed media scrum with 15 journalists all asking similar questions. He starts off diplomatic with the first answer, becomes a bit sharper with the second, and by the end, he completely loses his cool. The most memorable outburst came at the Austrian Grand Prix in 2025. Still frustrated after a disappointing 8th-place finish, he told reporters he was running out of patience with the Ducati team. The comments spread like wildfire around the world. He has since admitted that it was a mistake and that losing his temper in that moment was something he regrets, but by then, the damage was already done. To be completely fair to Pecco, this isn't just a mental or emotional issue. There's a very real technical problem at the core of everything, and even Ducati has started to acknowledge it publicly. After the Brazil round, team manager David Tardazzi openly admitted that Ducati hasn't been able to give Bagnaia the confidence he needs to push the GP26 to its maximum potential. He explained that the issue comes from a specific character of the bike that Pecco still hasn't been able to fully understand or master. That's a pretty strong statement coming from a team that used to make success look almost effortless. A clear pattern has now emerged. Bagnaia often looks perfectly comfortable during practice sessions, frequently sitting near the top of the timesheets on Friday mornings. But as soon as the sprint race or the Grand Prix starts, everything falls apart. He has spoken openly about facing the exact same problems as last season: difficulty stopping the bike, losing corner speed, and struggling with rear grip. A full year later, and these same issues keep coming back. That kind of repetition is genuinely worrying. Even Gigi D'Allegna, the engineering mastermind behind Ducati's recent years of total dominance, didn't hold back. He was blunt in saying that making a mistake in qualifying at a track where overtaking is extremely difficult is a very expensive error, one that becomes almost impossible to fix once the race begins. So you have technical problems on one side and pressure-induced mistakes piling up on the other. It's a perfect storm. But here, where it gets really interesting, this is no longer just Pecco Bagnaia's problem. For several seasons, Ducati were completely untouchable. They had the fastest bike, the deepest technical resources, and multiple riders who could win on any given weekend. That golden era now looks to be under serious threat. Their incredible streak of having at least one rider on the podium in every single race, an astonishing run of 88 consecutive races, came to an abrupt end right at the first round of 2026 in Thailand. Aprilia, once seen as the underdog challengers, have now won back-to-back main races. Then there was a leaked conversation after the United States Grand Prix that raised even more eyebrows. Jorge Martin pulled Bagnaia aside and directly pointed out that Ducati seemed to have lost something in terms of aerodynamics. Pecco didn't deny it. Instead of defending his bike, he shifted the conversation and started praising how much Aprilia had improved in the braking area. That's not something you usually hear from a factory Ducati rider. And here's the most telling part. The very same complaints that Bagnaia was making all through last year, that the bike becomes difficult and physically demanding when the fuel tank is full at the start of the race, are now being echoed by Marc Marquez as well. When two of the greatest riders in the world are independently highlighting the exact same issue on the same motorcycle, it stops being an individual rider problem and becomes a factory-wide problem. One that Ducati needs to solve urgently if they want to stay at the top. Beyond all the technical talk, there's a very human story here that's arguably even more gripping. The relationship between Pecco Bagnaia and Ducati is now in a genuinely delicate state. The core disagreement is about perspective. Bagnaia firmly believes that last season's problems were mainly technical, that the bike simply let him down. Ducati's management, on the other hand, believes he lost confidence and that the confidence has never fully returned. When both sides can't even agree on the root cause of the issue, finding a real solution becomes incredibly difficult. And when this standoff is playing out publicly in front of the entire paddock and the world's media, it turns into something much more serious. The rumors circulating now are quite explosive, that Bagnaia will leave Ducati at the end of this season and join Aprilia, with his factory seat being taken by Pedro Acosta. If that actually happens, it would be one of the most dramatic rider transfers in recent MotoGP history, a double world champion walking away from the team that made him to join the very squad that's currently beating them. So, to sum it all up, Pecco Bagnaia's struggles aren't caused by just one factor. It's a mix of a tough technical adaptation, some emotional moments that didn't play well in public, and a growing disconnect with a team that once seemed perfectly united behind him. The positive side is that he's being refreshingly honest about his own mistakes and taking ownership of them, which is more than most riders would do under this kind of intense pressure. Now the big question is whether that honesty will eventually turn into better results, whether the pieces will finally fall into place with Ducati, or whether a completely fresh start with Aprilia is what he actually needs to bring back the best version of himself. That's exactly what the rest of this season will tell us. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you think Pecco can bounce back and turn things around with Ducati, or does he actually need that move to Aprilia to spark his comeback? We'd really love to hear where you stand on this. If you enjoyed this detailed breakdown and want more in-depth MotoGP analysis throughout the season, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We've got plenty more coming your way as this exciting season unfolds. It's shaping up to be a fantastic year. See you in the next one.